Welcome to episode 69 of What If Civilization Started Over. Let's get into it. This is the first part of World War IV, this episode. Wait a second, I'll update that later. Yeah. And, World War III ended literally last episode. Or 2 episodes ago if you're counting the Treaty of Arta video. But let's get into it. The North Africa country is going to start by pushing past the Suez and is able to be pushing into this area. And the Russians are being pushed back a lot with the entirety of the international states of the world officially declaring war. Not just sending aid, officially declaring war. Yeah. Hong Kong is going to not be doing so well in the start of this war as the Chinese country, or just China, is going to be pushing back the Hong Kong country as they really do not like them, for obvious reasons. And so will the Red country. And every country that is within the international states of the world is going to be pushing back all of these countries, including, all these small countries down here. And yeah. And Papua New Guinea is also going to make a landing on this island and take it. So far, it's not going so well for the Russians, but it kinda is at the same time. When we get to here, this happens, as all of this will just, the green team is, not doing well at all. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And same thing with Ireland and Europe. So now, the entirety of Europe, other than these 5 countries here, and Iceland if you're counting that, okay, that's something. Now all of Europe is controlled by 2 countries, other than those 5. Yeah. The Mediterranean Union is going to make a landing back into the African continent as, they're going to be trying to get back their lands. And they make 2 pretty big landings, and they're both going successfully. Yeah. When we look at Russia here, Russia is being pushed back greatly, especially in the Central Asian area, Central Asian theater, as they will be, they won't have full control over the Caspian anymore. But then Russia is going to use the very thing that, they're going to use these things called nuclear bombs. How many are they going to use specifically? They are going to be launching nuclear bombs throughout the entirety of all of these areas. Yeah. Throughout all of the front lines that have, their enemies on them. And they are going to be just destroying the entire of Asia once again. As they will be, just nuking everything. As Russia will be, launching the nuclear bombs, all of them, over the entire world. There's definitely way more than this, but they nuke the capital, basically every country in the world. And this is going to cause a massive pushback from the Russians, because they will be taking the Persian capital and kicking Persia out of their areas, and will be forcing them to surrender. And they will be also taking the capital of this country here, and as expected, Persia is just gone, and so is this giant country here, as this country is going to be forced to surrender, as it is very weak. Which will look like this. Yeah. And then the Russians will be pushing down into the rest of the Arabian Peninsula, and taking it, which will force this area to surrender. And now, considered the most populated city in the world at this point, Alta is being threatened, as the Russians will be making a landing in the Djibouti area, and will be threatening the capital city of what is considered the leader of the IS, or the biggest member. Yeah. And they are threatening the capital. And the Russians at the same time with the nuclear bombs are going to be taking out this country, as it is lost one of its capitals, and it has lost its second capital. And, they'll be pushing into India and a bunch of areas. And Russia is just, as they're able to push into a huge part of the newly made countries, as they're able to take out way more countries than they should be able to. Yeah, as all of these areas will be taken out by Russia. That is gigantic. But the Russians are still failing over in the Siberian area, as they don't have any troops there, and this green country will be able to push back. And so will this yellow country over here in the northern areas. Which, that's not so good for Russia. But at the same time, this is a giant Russian empire here. The Mediterranean Union is going to be, doing their thing and invading territory. But then, the world is going to have enough. Some countries have secretly been developing nuclear bombs, like America, Mexico, and this country. So nuclear bombs will be dropped across major areas with a bunch of troops on them. Not just the Mediterranean Union, but also, everywhere. Yeah, across the world. And specifically over here in India, where majority of the Russian army is. Yeah. They basically make a force field on this line here. And Hong Kong, with the nuclear bombs, is going to be mad, and they are going to do a giant pushback against all these nations. But there, as they will be starting their massive push into the Southeast Asian region, and will be taking a bunch of territory and forcing 3 whole countries to surrender within a few days. Yes, Hong Kong is also getting their technology from Russia about nuclear bomb warfare. And Hong Kong's main target is the purple country here, as they will be, pushing in. And even though the Russian force field is pushed through, this country surrenders, and Hong Kong and Russia have officially cut off all of this area from the rest of, Asia, Eurasia. Some parts of the world know that this isn't going to be enough. They know that the entire Asian continent and the entire European continent, all under Russia and the world, would not be good, as Russia will be pushing into all of India and taking it, which is a huge operation that takes months. And when it happens, the front lines will look something like this. America, and basically the entirety of the Americas along the Pacific coast, are sending their militaries out to East Asia. But Hong Kong is, where they're failing, is in the northern areas, as, this happens. But the thing is, Hong Kong's support is mainly from Russia. Yeah. China's making its empire again, as they will be pushing in greatly. But randomly out of nowhere, Hong Kong is going to leave their alliance. They're going to betray Russia out of nowhere, and they start fighting Russia. Do you know why? The international states of the world gave a proposition to Hong Kong. Hong Kong knew that they wouldn't survive this war, but they believed that Russia would be able to stop them. But when they saw the Chinese front, China and the rest of the international states of the world sent a proposition over to Hong Kong: surrender all your territory and live. Make sure Russia doesn't live. So they leave their alliance, and now East Asia is connected with the rest of the world, so not just the Mediterranean Union and Russia. And with Russian troops having to focus on Hong Kong, they would be getting a pushback, as the Great Wall of nuclear radiation is being pushed through, not by Russia, but by the IS, or International States of the World. Yeah, I'll just call it the IS from now on. And also the North African country is starting a pushback within the Middle East, and it surprisingly goes successful. Yeah. Russia still has faith in their operations, as they kind of have all of Eurasia. So Russia is going to start an operation to take out East Asia, starting with the Green Team. Then when they start, they take back all of the lands they lost from the Green Team and are surrounding this lake. Or will be surrounding this lake. then they will go straight in and will attempt to take the capital of the green team, and they succeed. And when this happens, the green team is going to, not be doing so well, as they will be pretty much capitulating. And with the surrounding troops, the yellow team will also be falling, which is not very good for this alliance, and so will the green team. But Hong Kong is still doing very well against Russia, as they will be pushing past the nuclear radiation wall that was made. Yeah, that's something. And also Russia is going to attempt to make multiple landings within the Horn of Africa in order to attempt to take Arda. They do it successfully as they connect these two landings, and the landings will eventually get bigger until Arda, or the capital of this country, will fall. And this will basically put this country into capitulation, which is really bad, as it kind of rules over the international states of the world to an extent. And when Russia gets down in Africa, they start rambling, pushing in, and taking the capitals of many countries. And they push through and take the entirety of this African area, and they cut off all of the southern African area here to, the world. Yeah. Tanzania is also then going to betray or just declare war on the countries that once attacked it, and are now, with the help of Russia, going to be attempting to take out all of this area. And eventually, after many long fights, or a lot of battles, this area will eventually fall. All of southern Africa has officially fallen to Russia. That was just the ripple of what happens when Arda came. And then this country is going to get many more countries to join it, because all these countries here don't have faith in themselves. They have faith in this country, though. And since it's been holding out and even pushing back Russia, yeah, they all join. And then the Mediterranean Union gets pushed back. And then a proposition is made to the Mediterranean Union. We know that, you are part of the Russian alliance, and we're fighting you. But Russia is secretly behind your back, attempting to destroy you, in order to just, destroy you, take out your nation, rule your empire. And if you can join our side, we can take down the great empire of Russia, who was once your enemy and is always your enemy. Well, that is what the Mediterranean Union will propose, though the IS will propose to the Mediterranean Union. And the Mediterranean Union will come out and reveal they had a secret nuclear bomb. You know that nuclear bomb miscounts with the red team, where there was only 40 in the Allies' territory, but it said 41? The Mediterranean Union, that was the best bomb. And the Mediterranean Union stole it. And then, the Mediterranean Union launches that nuclear bomb onto the Russian capital, as it goes out from the blue team capital and will be hitting the Russian capital. When it hits, bam. Biggest nuclear strike ever. The dictator passes away, and Russia has lost all hope. And the Mediterranean Union also gets a proposition from the IS. If you want your empire to stay alive, then you have to give up lands. Land specifically in Britain, the Red Team areas, in Iberia, and the Balkans. If you can give up those lands, we'll let your empire live and flourish. And the Mediterranean Union would betray Russia, declaring war on the Russian Empire, taking territories from the Green Team and pushing up into the Copenhagen area. Russia will be forced to send a bunch of troops out of Africa, which will cause all of this area here to be liberated. And, Tanzania makes sense. And, Now you control all of Africa, African Union thingy. Yeah. And this African Union fund is going, well, insane. As all of this African area, Africa is beating Russia. Russia is out of hope. Their morale is extremely low. And for good reason. As Hong Kong will be pushing and taking all of India, and Russia has lost their army. The nuclear bombs have destroyed Russia's army and morale. As all these countries will be pushing in, attempting to take all of Russia. Yeah. But Russia will still be doing well against the Mediterranean Union, specifically in the Balkan and Greek areas. Yeah, as they will be taking this area and making a landing in the Italian peninsula. They believe that if they could take the Mediterranean Union, kick them out of this war, then they could rule the world as one nation, the Russian Empire. They feel like they would win this war without the Mediterranean Union. And it's going very well for Russia, as the blue team capital is sieged from the Russians. But just like the Germanics, it only lasts for 1 hour. As quickly the Mediterranean Union will be threatening the Russian capital as they start an operation. An operation kind of like what the Polish did twice, the Germanics did, the Austrians did, and now they're doing it. Pushing through and trying to go straight for the Russian capital. And this time, it goes successfully. As, the Mediterranean Union will be taking these nuclear bombed areas, and the capital of Russia is captured by the Mediterranean Union. But unlike the last time, Russia doesn't take it back. But after months of fighting in this area, Russia does eventually take it back. But at this point, the dictator of this country is long gone. And he gets replaced by someone who is less aggressive. And when he sees his country falls, he wants to surrender. But the world won't let him. As, they have jobs to do. Well, and one of the final parts of this war, rebellion. Rebellion against the rule of Russia. People don't like the Russian Empire. Nobody does. And, the entirety of the Siberian front will be rebelling away from Russia. All of it. All of this territory. Now part of this giant rebellion funded by the IS. And now Russia is losing their empire. Their grips on the world are going away, as the rebellions will be spreading throughout the entirety of Central Asia and taking a bunch of territory in the Middle East. And Hong Kong will annex this territory, and the rebellion will annex this territory. And as the Russians will be losing their ground, the IS and the Russians will be, and the Mediterranean Union, will be meeting up in Russia. As rebellions will also be taking over all of these areas, and Russia has pushed back to just this. As the rebellions will be pushing in, and the Mediterranean Union also pushes in. Eventually, Russia will be forced to surrender, officially ending World War IV. That was the shortest World War we've ever had, when it comes to video length. But when it comes to, length in human time, it's about 20 years long. And that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of What If Civilization Started Over. See you in the next episode where we will look at the peace treaty for World War IV. Bye!